So today is day 18 of my 30-day SR challenge, and last night it was a really difficult night for me. The day before that I was tested, but then the day after that I was basically yesterday, I think around 6 p.m. around evening time, I had some very strong urges. I'm not sure where it came from. I know that I didn't get the best sleep. My morning didn't start off so great. I remember waking up, still feeling a little sleepy, and then I got a phone call that I didn't really want to answer, but I just felt compelled to do it. It lasted about an hour. It was a phone call that I felt like could have waited, but I answered it, and then there was some resentment there. So, then I got another phone call. So it's just little things like that, just observing like where the urges come from. So one, I didn't get enough sleep. And then instead of maybe taking a nap or something, I decided to just drink some coffee, and which worked for a while. But I think after the coffee wore off, then that's when I noticed the urges came up. And then there was still a little a bit of resentment from just taking a phone call that wasn't so urgent, and I could have waited, to have that phone call. So, like I said, something as small as resentment, stress, anything, if you notice these little things, because this is something I've just observed like over the years, like when do my urges come up after, I'm able to I've done it long enough, to be aware of what triggers the urges. So there was that. And I definitely need to get better sleep. I think going to bed around the same time really helped. This is what I did when I had an accountability coach. He actually kept track of like my sleep and my diet, and not diet, but exercise and things like, personal goals and things like that. So this is why I recommend getting into some sort of community or brotherhood. Because you actually have men who will hold you accountable and making sure that you're not falling off. Now, for those of you who feel called to just separate yourself or maybe isolate yourself, or, just go in solitude for a period of time, if you want to go on monk mode, I've done it before. It's a great temporary incubation period. If you're going to go on this lone wolf journey, that's going to require even more discipline on your part, because you don't have anyone holding you accountable. You basically have to hold yourself accountable to make sure that you're working out, and that you're retaining, that you're not scrolling, that you're actually doing the things that you need to do to I want to say it's harder. It just requires a different level of discipline and accountability if you're going to try to do this by yourself and be on retention by yourself. It can be done, and I've had some success, sort of going on my own way when I was going through this period of feeling like my circle, I need to elevate my circle, but I felt like the people surrounding me, they weren't quite on the same wavelength as I was. So, that's when I just had this period of just being by myself, and I realized I was better off by myself, basically. I was in those kind of situations. Sometimes it's best to just do things by yourself if your circle is not helping you elevate. So I was in one of those situations. So if that's the case for you, you just have to kind of up your discipline. And I recommend doing things on a schedule, or maybe not a schedule, but you can just try to create like a morning routine and ritual. Like when I got up this morning, I did like a meditation, and I did some exercise. I fasted. I've been fasting, and then I decided to just eat a little something, and then I ran some errands, and now I'm kind of making this video, and after this I have to go to work. So there's actually not too much time for me to scroll or do anything right now. So yeah, you definitely have to hold yourself accountable. But I would recommend, plugging yourself into a community, men who are maybe further along on their journey than you are. It'll help you elevate. If you have men who are kind of like in the same path, it's good to have that, but you also want men who push you. You want men who will, who can call you out on habits that you shouldn't be indulging in. So that's the kind of accountability that I think every man should have. So this journey, it's day 18. Even this morning, I felt some urges, but they weren't quite as intense as last night. But I felt myself just fighting them. And that's not something that you want to do. I was just out doing my deliveries, and I probably should have just went home. But I was just fighting my urges. It was just me against my willpower. I don't even know if it was discipline. It felt like pure willpower. I don't know how I got past it, but lesson learned. I'll just have to make sure that I get better quality sleep, and just watch, just be careful with like resentful and doing things that maybe I don't feel like doing, or just learning how to set better boundaries. I have to, I'm still a work in progress. I used to be somebody that had no boundaries, but now I've kind of learned a way to balance that. But not only do you want to set boundaries with other people, but you want to set boundaries with yourself. What that means is just doing the things that you need to be doing, and just locking in on your goals, whether that's increasing your income, if that's getting strong in the gym, or maybe it's learning how to become a better communicator, like what I'm trying to do. Maybe you're trying to create music, art, maybe you're trying to build something, start a business. Just put your energy into those things, and then you won't have these periods of time where you're just completely bored, because that's when your thoughts can really just start to drift, and you might start having these lustful temptations. It's really in those times of boredom when you don't have any sense of purpose or anything like that. So I was humbled yesterday because I was telling guys, I made a video about getting past your 2 weeks. If you don't go past 2 weeks, you're not really committed. But I barely kind of got through like my 2 to 3 week period. So it was a humbling experience. So I was just like, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought. So if you end up relapsing, like I said, it's not the time to really shame yourself or guilt yourself. It's easier, it's easy to say that now, but when you do relapse, you do feel a little bit of shame, naturally you may, but don't be hard on yourself. Don't spiral down into those pits of shame, because it's just going to keep you down there and keep you stuck. And you're not going to be as motivated to continue this journey. So, and you may even go back to your old lifestyle. But I don't see that happening. Once you're on this journey long enough, it's hard to go back to the life that you used to live once you retain long enough. So, just keep at it. And like I said, you have to really just focus on your discipline and just being observant of your emotions throughout the day. You have to be more present. And when you're more present throughout the day, once you have, awareness, and you start to live more in the moment, you can you can figure out where those triggers are coming from, because it's not always about you wanting to just engage in sexual activity. Sometimes it stems from somewhere. It could be, all addictions have come from just a lack of fulfillment in some part of your life, and you kind of have to figure out what that is. It's a lack of something that you're not getting. It could be from your relationships. It could be maybe you're not feeling abundant. Maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're feeling like you don't have enough money, or you're not achieving. You don't feel like you have a sense of achievement or a sense of purpose. It's it takes a much higher level of awareness to be able to figure out where those urges stem from. And as far as like masturbation, I don't think that's good either. Like, I used to believe that it's okay to masturbate as long as you're not watching porn. My views have totally changed from that. I think masturbation is just like, even if you're not watching porn, I want to say it's the lesser of two evils, because what are you masturbating to? You're thinking about something. You have images in your head. You're either thinking about it, or you're thinking about a time maybe that you were watching porn or something. Like, it's still mental masturbation. So it's either way, it's still a waste of energy. And the point of this journey is not to be sexless and like completely abstinence, or even to be celibate. So I'm not even trying to promote or encourage that, but it's just about being intentional with your energy. So it's about finding a life partner, or if you want to start dating, you can maybe learn to get to know the person before you just have sex with them. It's to connect with a person's soul instead of with their body. You're connecting with a person from their higher nature instead of from your lower nature. And so when you're on this journey long enough, you'll be able to do that. I decided to do a video inside today just because of the weather conditions of where I am. So I think that's going to be it. But yeah, I just hit 3 weeks, and I've got, I'm thinking it's 4 weeks. It's 30 days. But yeah, this was tough. But now that I'm going to be working 4 to 5 days out of the week, I think there will be less time for me to have those. There's going to be less time for me to just waste time and scroll and do whatever. It's I'm going to be busy throughout the day. So always be intentional with your time, and just cut down on the scrolling, cut down on the internet, and just start going out more and engaging in something, other than consuming content or scrolling on Instagram. We kind of want to move away from that, take a break from that. Practice grounding, release all those negative energies, and just connect with nature more. Now, I recommend either meditation, or maybe having a gratitude journal, or some sort of breath work in the morning. First thing, as soon as you get up, just try to have like a much slower morning, instead of going straight into into business, unless you work in the morning. But you want to get into the habit of just having a very slow morning. The first 30 minutes to an hour, just make it a very slow paced morning. Maybe you can listen to some meditation music, or just go outside in nature for 15, 20 minutes, or you can meditate for 20 minutes. Just make that first 30 minutes to an hour a low stress time. So that's going to be it for today. And yeah, my urges, they are more tamed right now. But we will see. You never really know what you're going to go through in this journey, but I'm just taking it day by day. So, all right, I'm going to cut this off. I'll see you guys in the next video.